So the CIA director, Tony Ratcliffe, reportedly meeting today with Elon Musk. Now, Musk has said the focus would be on cutting waste, not on weakening the agency. This after the CIA has reported to have laid off dozens of junior officers, most of whom were hired in the last 2 years, saying they just did not meet the demands for intelligence work. NewsNation's senior national security contributor Tracy Walder joins us. Tracy's a former CIA officer herself, and I believe that a lot of your work at the CIA was out in the field. But just pretend you had a desk at Langley and you were sitting there today, and in walks Elon Musk. What would you be thinking?
Well, there were times, Connell, that I obviously was at headquarters and not in the field. I think my morale probably wouldn't be high. I would be concerned simply because part of what his job is at DOGE is to make cuts. And especially if I was one of the probationary employees, which all of us were at some point, I would absolutely be concerned and probably a little worried for my job.
Yeah, the thing is, there's an argument to be made that there's I think you and I have talked about this even in the CIA, certainly the FBI, you're also FBI agent. There's an argument to be made that there is some jobs or some money that could be cut out, right? It's just the way they've been going about it. And you mentioned the word morale. What impact do you think it's having on morale?
I don't think morale is great. So, here's the thing about that. I agree with you to a certain extent, and that there are some individuals that I think really it could benefit to offer them early retirement.
Right.
But I want to make the point, if I may, I was a probationary employee on September 11th, sitting in CIA's counterterrorism center. And we were all new. Most of the counterterrorism center was new. And if they had let all of us go, we would have been in a huge problem. And so that's sort of what I look at it. CIA is usually known for its failures, not its successes. And to see it sort of villainized right now, in the news, and I get it, it's not a perfect organization, but I would imagine morale is not high, and that's obviously worrisome.
That's a really interesting perspective, going back to 9/11 or just before 9/11, if that move had to have been made, and what experience would you have afterwards, right? I want to ask you about this controversy that's been in the news now for a week, right? But there is one new development on the back and forth over the use of the messaging app Signal by the National Security Advisor and others. The Wall Street Journal says that Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor, is losing support inside the White House. We know that President Trump decided not to fire him over the setting up this group chat on Signal, but this report says it's still a tenuous spot for Waltz. What's your view now? Has it changed or evolved at all over the last week? Do you think, that Mike Waltz will or should maybe lose his job still?
Listen, I obviously think that he does set a precedence, and more information has obviously come out that he has used Signal for other chats. I think other individuals have probably also used Signal for other chats, but I think it's the reasoning behind why Trump has sort of lost faith in him. Doesn't seem to have to do a lot with sort of misusing this platform in an inappropriate manner, and more to do with the fact that he's upset that he had the editor-in-chief of the Atlantic's contact number in that Signal. And so I think that's probably what's more concerning to me, is the reason behind potentially letting him go.
Because your concern would be what you mentioned first, the fact that they're on Signal to begin with.
Yes, the fact that these conversations are happening on Signal, yes, it's encrypted, but encrypted doesn't mean that it can take classified information. That is the problem. And in my opinion, that's what needs to be underscored and made an example out of.
Yeah, and supposedly they have some sort of a messaging app now that is, internally. I know they didn't at first, right? As your understanding has it, that you can message in a secure way.
So when I was at CIA, we actually could message in secure and encrypted ways. Now, you can use Signal. It has been approved that they can use for just administrative conversations, like you and I talking, right, as colleagues. But we could not use it to obviously lay out targeting information. It doesn't take that classified information.
Makes sense. All right. Tracy, as always, thank you. Tracy Walder with us. Always great on these issues.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.